The tension in the relationship between the United States and China is at an all-time high. But as both countries navigate a potential decoupling, history shows us the U.S.-China relationship has never been a simple one.
The U.S. and China have, over the past 70 years, seen the relationship undulate pretty dramatically between some very low lows and some very high highs. After Mao Zedong and the Communist Party took control of China and founded the People's Republic of China on October 1st, 1949, relations with the United States were essentially severed.
This was a period marked by conflict between the U.S. and the Soviet Union, a state China was closely aligned with.
Leading up to the late 1960s, early 1970s, it was really unthinkable that the relationship would change in any dramatic way. And so it was a shock for everyone in the United States, but also in China, when news began to leak that the United States and China were on the verge of a rapprochement. And so in 1972, Nixon made his famous trip to Beijing, started really the process of U.S.-China relations that we know today. With the death of Mao Zedong and the rise of this new leader, Deng Xiaoping, who seemed to be much more pragmatic and much more reform-oriented, China was going to be heading in a new, different direction, or more importantly, that the United States had the ability to shape the direction that China would be traveling. Throughout the 1980s, there was a robust campaign of activities and interactions and investments and trainings where the United States was reaching out to China to offer it material training that it felt like the country would need to move towards modernization. And of course, China was happy to take all of this.
Deng Xiaoping formally stepped down in 1989, but still played an important role behind the scenes.
Those illusions suffered a significant setback on June 4th, 1989, when the senior leadership in Beijing gave the go-ahead for the People's Liberation Army and the People's Armed Police to open fire on protesters.
The Tiananmen Square massacre cast a chill on the U.S.-China relationship. Deng Xiaoping needed a way to repair China's image.
Deng Xiaoping recognizes the economic reform agenda is in tatters. The United States had put sanctions on China. So he goes south into what was called the Southern Tour. This is 1992. China needs to do to modernize its economy and its governance system to be able to carry on the vision that Mao had outlined.
The Southern Tour had the desired effect. The U.S. continued relations with China.
We need to integrate China. And of course, this reaches its sort of symbolic peak in December 2001, when China joins the World Trade Organization. There's this revisionist idea that was the original sin. Right? That's when the United States allowed China into the global trading system, and we just didn't know what we were up against. 2008 was a crucial year for China in a number of ways. This was really when the political tides began shifting in Beijing towards a much more confident, assertive worldview. And it was, in many ways, instigated or catalyzed by the global financial crisis. Crucially, its view that the United States was a declining power.
Despite promises of cooperation,
the United States welcomes China's efforts in playing a greater role on the world stage, a role in which a growing economy is joined by growing responsibilities.
The U.S.-China relationship has continued to deteriorate.
What does the world look like if, after 2 decades of being pulled together, we're now seeing political choices being made to pull the world apart? We need to think about what does a new bifurcated world look like, because in many ways that's where we're headed.